morning, everybody. Good to have you in on a Friday edition of Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl. Alex Becker, producer extraordinaire, joining us today on the show. The boss is in Breckenridge, pulling tough duty, Alex. I think he had an event last night, but I think he's trying to get out and sneak around in on a golf course sometime today. So I don't think that we should shed any tears for the boss today. He's off to a good start to his weekend.
Hey, Breckenridge, great time to be this time of year. I mean, you can do all those outdoor activities, you can bike, hike. Great place to be outside. Hope his event went well last night, but I've been stuck in worse places in the summer than Breckenridge.
You know, interestingly, yesterday, it was not an uncomfortable day at practice by any stretch of the imagination, but my wife pointed out to me this morning that yesterday, Denver was more humid than Dallas, Oklahoma City, St. Louis, that whole kind of Mississippi Delta. That's just really weird because we just don't have a lot of humidity, but it was kind of thick yesterday. So we're hoping for a better day today as we finish off another week of practice with the Broncos. Actually, they go through tomorrow, but so it goes. All right, the best way we want you to remember that the best way that you can find a price for anything that you want is at Roller Auction. It is the leader in Colorado auctions for now over 45 years. On Wednesday, there's a government fleet vehicles auction for SUVs, sedans, pickups, dump trucks, vans, trailers, and more. Just about anything on four wheels. The online bidding has started at rollerauction.com. Don't forget to go to rollerauction.com to learn about upcoming options. Get what you want at the price that you want today at rollerauction.com. Time now for the lead.
The lead is presented by Smokin' Dave's Barbecue. It is not just the best barbecue in town, it is one of the best restaurants in town. You can find Smokin' Dave's Barbecue off 36th and Pecos.
All right, Alex, after a really long physical padded practice on Wednesday that featured a lot of hitting, Sean Payton put his players in helmets and shorts yesterday, had about an hour and 50-minute breeze through practice that was heavy in the red zone. Both sides of the ball had pretty nice moments, but it was not as competitive a practice as they had on the few previous days. Now, afterwards, tight end Adam Troutman was effusive about the Broncos' work on Wednesday, calling the practice the best that I've been in my 3 years here in Denver. What type of dynamic do you think the Broncos have created now to inspire such a remark?
You know, Bruce, it really seems like there's just great vibes within the team. The guys have a nice balance of having fun out there and with each other, as we saw with Marvin Mims and Malcolm Roach the other day, but also a serious approach to things. They're showing similar traits to some of the Saints teams that were coached by Sean Payton. And I think Adam Troutman is a guy that speaks the truth. He wouldn't say that unless he really believed it. So those comments from Troutman tell a lot. He's been with Sean Payton in New Orleans, and I think he's seen a lot of the similar traits move over here to Denver in year 3 of Sean Payton's tenure.
Yeah, I think the feeling, I think that you're on target with the feeling that really kind of permeates the entire franchise right now. I would go even beyond what they have on the field. They are doing a ceremony today to mark the work that is being done on the new facility, which, and you were out there a couple of days ago, is pretty remarkable and pretty impressive. If you haven't been out there for a while and you walk into that place, you start to get a sense for the size and the scope of the project out at Broncos Park. And in a lot of ways, it's a pretty good metaphor for really what's going on with the franchise right now. The growth, the belief, the things that are coming together is very much evidenced on the field. And when you see guys all pulling it sounds like such a silly thing, you know, the kind of all for one, one for all, guys all pulling in the same direction. You get so used to hearing it that it's like, well, doesn't that happen with everyone? Doesn't that happen everywhere? I'm not sure that it does, first of all. In fact, I know that it doesn't. but you have a really good mix of veterans and young players that bring a lot of enthusiasm, but more than anything, I think a really innate understanding of what they have to do in order to get to where they want to go. They had a taste of it a year ago, but Alex, I think that they have a very good understanding of what it took to get there then and what it's going to take now to get to the next step beyond a 10-7 team that goes to the playoffs. And that's a really good feel-good story. But, they didn't do anything in the playoffs. Right. Now you're looking for the next step. It is, I don't want to say it's rare, but it at least the understanding that this team and this franchise have and the appreciation for where they are and the willingness to do the work to where they need to get to, pretty valuable stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. I remember after they lost that playoff game to the Bills last year, Sean Payton in the postgame saying, we need to find a way to get some of these at home, some of these home playoff games. You just mentioned taking the next step. I know you and Eric have talked about possibly the Chargers or the Broncos taking over the Chiefs for the top of the AFC West. I think they're ready. They're ready for it. The national media is definitely recognizing that, and like what I've seen so far at Broncos camp, and I think it's going to continue. They have the coaching staff, they have the makeup in the locker room. Really like what I'm seeing all around. There's no glaring, weaknesses or issues within the team at all.
No, absolutely not. Sean Payton continuing to beam about this group and the culture of this program at this particular point. Yesterday in remarks, remember, we did not talk to him on Wednesday after practice. We got players only. We did not get Sean Payton. So he talked about his practice on Wednesday. We appear to have the right mix of youth and some veteran leadership. All 32 teams start the season with the same goals and aspirations. So you ask yourself, what separates yourself from those other teams? Sean Payton speaking now. I think it goes back to who we're bringing in, who we're drafting. We can all write down our goals and dreams, and we can recite them, but then you live them. And added, I like this team. What do you think Payton means when he says about goals and aspirations that you've got to live them?
Living out the goals and dreams. Yeah, I think Payton means actions speak louder than words. When he mentioned the other 31 teams in the league, everybody has the same goal at the start of the season, but you really have to commit and be about it, not just talk about it. It's clear Sean Payton believes he has a good football team here, and he's more about walking the walk. Been through it, seen so many teams over his NFL tenure, teams that have had high expectations at the start that have floundered. But he's saying, you really got to go out and live it. So I think he's just saying, go out and prove it every single week.
Yeah, and every single day, and I think that's. I think the point of that statement was that he is seeing a buy-in every single day from this football team. They were on the field yesterday for the 8th time in 9 days. And look, you could not replicate or approach the physicality of the practice on Wednesday. I agree with Adam Troutman, by the way, and I would go beyond the last 3 years, of which Troutman and Payton have been a part of the program. I'd go back all the way to 2016 when they were still a contending team coming off of a Super Bowl. Obviously, that was a football team that a lot was expected of, and there was plenty of spirited competition. But since then, in the interim, I can't remember a practice like they had on Wednesday. But my point is this. When you are stacking days one after the other and you're extending out to 2.5 hours of practice, which Wednesday's practice was 2.5 hours. It was a cool day. It was a good day to extend, but it was physical. Adam Troutman used the terms physical and violent, which I thought was a very interesting choice of words. But you get guys that understand that you have to be this way at practice on a daily basis. Look, it's when you've worked 8 of 9 days, your body's telling you, I need a break. I need a rest. I mean, I'm just out there watching practice for 8 of the last 9 days, taking down notes and following it, and it wears me out, for goodness sakes. I can't imagine how those guys are feeling. And yet there is an enthusiasm, a drive that pushes them out there each and every day. And even though yesterday you knew that they were going to back off a little bit, they came out in helmets and shorts. And the offensive linemen had the spider pads underneath the jerseys, the pads before you put on the shoulder pads. But and they backed off through it. There was a lot more walkthrough in red zone situations, but you still felt enthusiasm. You still felt the joy of being on the field together. And I don't want to sound silly because it's a job. And there are elements of drudgery that go with being on the field so much. But you don't see it in their performance. And while nothing would really be able to compare with the energy that both sides of the football felt on Wednesday, you still felt an attention to detail. You still felt an attention, a focused attention in trying to get better. A lot of it was install on red zone yesterday. So there was very meaningful progress. And I think that that's what Sean is talking about. Do you have an understanding of what it will take? We all want to be good. We all want to win. Some of us have better talent to do it with than others. And I don't think the Broncos are on the high end of that. There are better rosters in the National Football League than the Broncos. But the Broncos are in a position right now that if you have enough of the intangibles, you can combine that with a roster that has improved exponentially over the last 2 years, that's had a little taste of success, and that has an understanding of what needs to be done. This is what you look for, I think, Alex, not even week to week. I think you look for it day to day with this group. Can they commit on a daily basis to get better? And that's another cliche, right? Well, we want to get better. We want to get 1% better every day. But you know what? There's some truth to that. Can you get better every day? And a lot of that just has to do with, are you showing up with the right amount of energy and focus to get better?
Right. And I think that's what's going to take if they want to compete with the top of the AFC, compete with the Bills and the Chiefs and the Ravens. They got to commit every single day. You mentioned yesterday just kind of going through a walkthrough, but it's not just going through the motions. It's really working on stuff, making sure everybody's on the same page. And just things you got to keep doing on a daily basis that, you know, they do have the right coaching. They have the right guys around in order to do those things. And, it's a grind. The dog days of summer, every day's a grind, but, it seemed like the attention to detail is there every single day.
You were out there a couple of days ago, had eyes on it live for the first time. What were your takeaways? What'd you come away with?
Yeah, I was out there Tuesday, which was the second day in pads. The defense certainly stood out that day.
Yep.
I like the pass rush with Benito and Cooper off the edges. I think Jonathan Cooper continues to be underrated. And then on offense, RJ Harvey, he showed a nice burst. Troy Franklin made a great catch in traffic. Franklin, to me, has showed a lot of improvement. I think he has a high ceiling, maybe higher of a ceiling than a guy like Devon Vele. But Franklin looks much more comfortable, and it's such a good sign in year two. That transition from college to the NFL can be a big adjustment for some guys. And I know you and Eric have talked extensively about the troubles he went through in camp last year. Second time through for him, it looks a lot better. And I think Franklin possibly could have a good year. He could really emerge this season in his sophomore year.
I tend to agree with you. I think that I think that Troy Franklin, I think Riley Moss has been really good in this camp. Troy Franklin has been really good to this point in camp. There's a bunch of guys. Jahdae Barron has been intriguing in this camp. He got beat up a little bit a couple of days ago in one-on-ones, but man, they're putting him out in all kinds of places and spaces defensively. He's a guy that is going to be very much in the mix along with Jaquan McMillan in the nickel package.
Mm-hmm.
people that expect him to, he's not being in a position to battle Riley Moss for the spot opposite of Pat Surtain. Riley Moss is I think at this point a better option, not only because of his skill set, and I'm not saying his skill set's that much better than Jahdae Barron's. I'm not saying that at all, but he also has a experience set that's far more important. You don't change what has worked so well. Riley Moss had one bad day in Cincinnati last year, coming off of of an injury, but has been fantastic both before and after that week, and has been really, really good in practice so far through the first 8 days. It takes a certain type of player to be able to take the workload and the traffic that is inevitably coming when you're playing opposite a guy like Pat Surtain, who people just don't throw at. So where does the rest? So just from that, understanding that alone, with that Pat Surtain is not going to get thrown at very often. Where does the traffic go? Well, it goes to the other side.
Right.
And Riley Moss is a guy with a mentality that says, bring it on. This is kind of what makes it fun. This is what you look forward to. And he seems like a guy to me that is very well suited to handle the challenge. He just enjoys being in that kind of position. So to me, Jahdae Barron is just another piece that they can do so many things with. What do you think about the young receivers? How are you with Pat Bryant? Where are you? I guess Vele not practicing the day that you were there. He was
not out there.
Yeah.
On Tuesday.
So,
but Bryant, that was my first look at him, and man, he looked pretty impressive. Great hands, route running. I mentioned, I think, Rod Smith a couple months ago when we did the show. He did look like that. He's got a stronger lower half than I thought. Maybe he's a strong dude put together,
right?
And just reliable. A guy you can throw the ball to on third down and trust that he's going to run a good route and catch the football. He looked good to me. And then that Joaquin Davis kid kind of stood out a little bit. Big, for me,
long,
too.
Really long.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll see if he's able to maybe get that last receiver spot. But Franklin, Mims, and Bryant really look good. That was Cortland Sutton the day right after he signed the deal, and he was a couple of good outbreaking routes that he ran. But we know about Sutton. But the young guys, very intriguing to me. Really interested to see how it shakes out as we get into the games, in the preseason games.
I have a buddy that's coming in. He's a season ticket holder today from Wichita, a longtime friend of mine. I'll give him a shout out. Jason Alt will be in today and watching practice today. He's got some business on the West Slope for later this week, or for the weekend. But he asked me, he said, hey, I haven't gone to a training camp. What do I need to watch? And so I was going through a list of things with him, or texting him this morning to pay attention to. And interestingly, it all comes back to Bo Nix. And really, when there's lots of things that you can go and watch at practice that are very worthwhile. You watch the young guys, you watch what they're trying. If you're really in the weeds, you can try to see what they're doing with their run scheme. They're trying to stretch a little bit more of their outside zone running game, but you got to be in the weeds and really understand what you're looking at when you're going to a practice. Most people just go and get the whole scene, and maybe they zone in on a couple of guys, but the one guy really to zone in on is the guy that you kind of take for granted, is Bo Nix. And it's really good to have you doing the show today to talk about the day that you were there, because it was a day that was dominated by the defense. But everything still flows through Bo Nix. It flows through him as a leader, the energy that the team takes on the field. Everything that they're trying to do offensively goes through the ability and the maturity of Bo Nix. You saw him on a day when the offense didn't really flash. The defense did dominate. But what do you see from Bo Nix that differentiates him from year one to year two?
So certainly the leadership out there, the way guys kind of gravitate towards him.
Right.
He mentioned, was it last week when he said he was just trying not to screw it up, basically? Looked like
Trying not to be an idiot, right?
Exactly,
yeah.
right, as a rookie. And you could tell he had that rookie success last year, and he just got a taste of the NFL, but now it's like a different player. It's like a guy coming back to school for the second year, just way more comfortable, ready to take the next step. Like you said, the offensive performance wasn't great that day. I know the people around me were like, "What's going on with Knicks? Why aren't they able to move the ball today?" But
they were trying to run the ball that day too. That was a heavy run based practice, but I do think it's interesting to me that when you talk to guys up and down the lineup, offense, defense, it doesn't make any difference. The phrase "this is Bo's team" now is a very familiar refrain. This is Bo's team. Quinn Miner said he thought it was Bo's team from the day that he showed up last year. I mean, that's the kind of swag that he had really going in. And it's pretty remarkable to see a second-year player in a position that on a unit that really hasn't done much historically over the last 8 or 9 years, and he's only been here 2, come in and automatically be able to take over this team from a leadership standpoint and a performance standpoint. So it's been pretty interesting to watch that. And I was thinking about it this morning because Jason's coming in and he's going to get a chance to watch practice for the first time, that we've almost moved away from Bo Nix in his second year, because I think it's just a very natural assumption, and it doesn't always work with second-year quarterbacks, right? C.J. Stroud last year is a really good example, but there are others, that you automatically make a jump in that second year. Well, I think Broncos country is just, it's a given that Bo Nix is going to continue to improve and is going to be a guy that makes a jump from a top 15 guy to a top 12, maybe a top 10 quarterback, which is kind of where he finished last season. He finished with a real strong flurry at the end of the year, and he was that kind of quarterback. I would be careful about that. You just never know. But boy, I'll tell you what, no one backs off from it. Sean Payton doesn't back off from it. Bo Nix doesn't drop off from it. His teammates have an absolutely unchallenged belief in this guy, and the value of having that kind of leader in a quarterback position, you just can't overstate enough how important it is.
That's remarkable. I mean, I wouldn't say he has like the perfect attitude and the perfect work ethic, but it's about as close as it can be as far as the way his teammates react to him and just his leadership overall. It's like everything you would want in a quarterback. I think it goes back to his dad being a coach and just growing up that way. But he's just got all the intangibles you would possibly want. That story you told a couple of days ago about him running sprints with those guys, that's just something that most you wouldn't see from most guys. I mean, he just gets it to just everything. He's aware of everything going on, and something, those intangibles you can't really teach. You just that he's grown up with the game like that.
Yeah, the level of confidence that he plays with on a daily basis now is pretty remarkable, and it can't help but infuse the rest of the offense, which really has some pieces now, putting them together, especially in the running game. I think that people are going to be very pleased with what they see from Dobbins and Harvey and Dobbins. I don't know where the running back room is going to go. I think Jaleel McLaughlin is going to make this team. Audric Estime has started to flash a little bit. A couple of days ago, I was with a couple of folks along the sideline, and we were watching Audric Estime, and he was slow to the point of attack and didn't hit the hole hard. And I was like, I wonder if this guy is going to get it and is going to make it. And then all of a sudden, the rest of the day, it was like almost on cue. Then he hit a pocket hard. Then he hit a hole hard. The next time he shrugged off a guy and was running with some authority. And he's kind of carried that over for a couple of days. Blake Watson has had a good couple of days. He's flashed a little bit. They've got some options. All right, when we continue, we're going to get to not all the news was good yesterday. There was something that went down about midway through practice in a one-on-one that really quieted the place a little bit. You had to have been paying attention, but it was a potentially heavy blow in a position group that has had too many of them already. That as we continue.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corned bake. Man, you got to try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Spice up your next night out at Nola Jane and Lodo. Authentic Cajun cuisine like andouille sausage gumbo with dirty rice, crawfish etouffee, as well as 6 different po' boys like soft-shell crab and shrimp. Come in before or after a game at Ball Arena. Host a party or party on their rooftop deck overlooking Market Street during happy hour from 11 a.m. to 5. Plus, Nola Jane caters, delivers, and the kitchen is open late night. Make Nola Jane your new favorite spot to eat, drink, and party like it's Mardi Gras.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch in the DTC. Both locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook is a hangout bar or great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, the DTC, and coming soon to Parker. They are the sports bar.
All right, back with my buddy Alex Becker today as we roll through this Friday. Eric will be back on Monday. He's on assignment in Breckenridge, which actually means he'll be teeing it up pretty quickly and getting after it. He did have an event last night. We hope it went. I trust that it went well. Eric's events always go well. Eric's very good at what he does on his side hustle.
Yes.
This is basically, this is what, and the stuff that he does with Nate Jackson at Guerrilla Sports. Mm-hmm. And his side hustle is his auctioning business, which you're a part of now too, right?
Yeah. We got a lot of events scheduled here this fall. A lot of Thursday, Saturday nights. Get to travel around and meet different crowds and meet different people. And Eric's always on point. He's always on at those events and does a great job.
Yeah, he really, really does. Hey, we want to let you know about Ferguson's Heating and Cooling. It's the best in Denver, plain and simple. Customers agree. Ferguson has 165 5-star Google reviews. Here's one from Betsy, and I quote, highly professional, prompt, honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I was aware that my former company was trying to sell me a whole system that I simply didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts, equipment, and service. They always show up on time. You can trust Ferguson family like you trust your own. It's as simple as going to FergusonHeatingandCooling.com. Time now for What's Trending.
What's Trending is presented by Ferguson's Heating and Cooling. Your family should trust the Ferguson family for all your heating and cooling needs, and you'll see why they have over 165 5-star Google reviews. Make an appointment today at Ferguson'sHeatingandCooling.com.
All right, not all news at the Broncos yesterday was good. Inside linebacker Dre Greenlaw pulled up on a high-speed one-on-one drill against J.K. Dobbins, who really laid out for a ball that was thrown just off of his fingertips down the field. With a tightening hamstring, Greenlaw retired for the rest of the day. Afterwards, Payton downplayed the injury, but it was the third time in 5 practices that an inside linebacker has been injured. It's been a real oddity to this point. First of all, let me just say this. These were 2 very central figures in the guys getting after it at the highest level the day before on a Wednesday. Dre Greenlaw knows one way to practice, one way to play. It's physical, it's high speed, he seeks out contact, and he competes at every single turn. He's as an intensive player that I have seen in my 10 years here covering the Broncos. He's just that kind of guy. So what you had is J.K. Dobbins, and it was a one-on-one where a running back is playing against an inside linebacker, and which lines up to what it would in a game when guys go off downfield, or they peel off on a wheel, or they go to the side. An inside linebacker generally is responsible in coverage. But you had 2 uber competitive guys that went as hard on the first rep of this one-on-one as I've seen in a while, going full speed down the field, probably 30-some yards on a play, one-on-one. And Greenlaw just pulled up at the very end. He had him covered. Dobbins would have had to have made an absolutely great catch. And remember, this is practice, and he's laying out for a ball, literally laying out parallel to the ground for a ball. So on one hand, it was a great effort between 2 really competitive guys. On the other hand, it resulted, unfortunately, in Dre Greenlaw coming up just a little bit lame on what appeared to be his right hamstring. It's not the quad, at least according to Sean Payton. It's not the same quad that kept him out of all of the offseason conditioning programs, but I would not expect to see Dre Greenlaw back at practice today. So what about the inside linebacker room and 3 guys lost to injury in the last 5 days?
That is strange, and I think it is concerning, especially when you factor in the injury history with these players. Sanders missed a good chunk of last year. We know Greenlaw has had so many lower body injuries in San Francisco, and the quad, the hamstring, the groin, whatever it may be. The fact that it's not in the same area as the quad is good news to me, not a reoccurring thing. But you're hoping with some of these guys that, Sanders will be out 4 to months at a time, but that Singleton and Greenlaw will get these injuries out of the way before the regular season starts. So they'll be ready to go when the games actually count. You're hoping that's the case. Broken thumb, I don't think that's a nagging thing or anything. That's just kind of a freak thing that happened. But hopefully they can get healthy towards the end of camp and remain healthy for the big chunk of the season, because those guys are essential to have on the field.
Yeah, no question about it. If there were any questions about one position group, it was probably the depth in the inside linebacking room. Now you've had 3 injuries in 5 days. Sean did a good job pointing out that Alex Singleton will be back within the next less than a week, albeit with the club on that left thumb. We'll see how much that affects him, but he will be back at practice and will be a part of things moving forward. You're right. You point out a couple of silver linings here. One is that it has happened early enough in practice that you hope that you can overcome it. Secondly, it does allow coaching staffs to further examine and grade younger players in that position. Lavelle Bailey has been a guy that has gotten a lot of reps in now his second year, who looks the part. And, it's the whole, anytime that a guy is injured, the next guy steps up. Next man up thing. I mean, it's another cliche in the NFL. Next man up. But this is how guys make a name for themselves. So we're going to get a long look at Lavelle Bailey. We've already gotten a pretty long look at Justin Sternard, who I thought gave mixed results last year in playing a good amount. He didn't quite cover, I think, in the way that they liked. I thought he was pretty good at the line of scrimmage. I thought he was pretty good attacking the quarterback and in the run game. I wish he'd had a little better season covering backs and tight ends. Remember, he was a safety coming into professional football in his time at Wake Forest. We'll have to see how he adapts to that. But it's at least good for for getting reps for some guys in that next wave of guys that you've got to build your depth with, Alex. And Lavelle Bailey is a guy to really pay attention to. When you're out there, if you're out there at practice and you want to zone in on a guy that is going to probably play some important reps this season, that is going to be rotational, I would say that he is a guy. Look for him out there during drills because he's an intriguing talent. Size, speed, and he's one of those guys that tends to be in the right place at the right time, always around where the ball is.
I think that's great. Now we get to see he gets more opportunity to show that he can play too, along with these other guys. And sounds like you said, he's made a ton of plays the last few days.
Sure has.
All around the football all the time. If he keeps proving himself on defense, I mean, the Broncos might be forced to give him more playing opportunities. Like, how can you shut this guy out if he continues to make plays and fly around out there? So that is a good silver lining with the injuries, that Lavelle Bailey gets more time and just more exposure to the coaching staff.
How much are you looking forward to the shared practice next week with the 49ers? Maybe even more so than the exhibition, which you can put me in that camp. I really want to know what ones and ones and twos look against each other with two what should be pretty good football teams. I think a lot can come out of that next week in San Francisco.
It's going to be fun to see them go against another team in the joint workout. The 49ers, they still have a lot of stars. They did lose a few key pieces in the offseason. Saw many experts are kind of down on them this year. Yep. We'll see how that plays out with Kyle Shanahan's group. But I'm definitely looking forward to see the offense go against guys like Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, DeMondre Lenore in the secondary. Yeah. That's gonna be great. Christian McCaffrey is healthy this year. George Kittle on offense. It's going to be fun to see the ones go against each other. And it always gets a little bit competitive, right? The first joint workout against another team. Going to be a lot of fun. And I'm way more, although I won't be able to see it, I'm way more excited to see the results of that than the actual exhibition game on the 9th.
I am most interested in seeing how far ahead of the curve the Broncos defense is against at least a very capable offense. When you've got Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle, now you don't have Deebo Samuel there anymore, and you've got, but you've still got some guys, right? You've got some Jennings, and you've got some guys that can do some things. I will be really interested to see how that defensive unit shows. Because I think that if you give a gold star to any unit so far with what the Broncos have done, I think that you give the nod to defense. And defense should be ahead of offense at this point, right? I mean, pitching is always ahead of hitting in the spring in baseball. And it's the same way with defense and offense in the summer in football. So, but I'm looking forward to seeing and I don't think, my guess is that Greenlaw, well, we'll see, but I would be surprised now with this last setback that he would even be, especially going back out to San Francisco, where you know that he would be on high point, high alert, want to make a point. I mean, I get that. I totally understand that. But, man, being around this guy, he's just – I mean, he only knows one speed. And so, anyway, I'll be interested to see how that all plays out. Exhibition football last night, the Chargers absolutely ripped the Lions from stem to stern. How much did you watch? Be honest with me.
I watched some of the first half.
Okay.
I saw Trey Lance out there. He was playing pretty well for the Chargers. He's in a battle for the backup quarterback job there. But overall, preseason football just doesn't really move the meter too much for me. It's hard to watch most of the time. It's hard to get locked into a game and just, and keep paying attention to it. But I did watch a lot of the first half. Will Dissly was out there catching a touchdown.
Right.
So it was good to see. I know Dan Campbell's team got worked over pretty good, but I don't think it really means anything in the grand scheme. No defensive starters played for Detroit. So, yeah.
It doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. And for the Broncos this year, when you talk about a roster that has maybe 4 jobs, 3, 4, 5 jobs at stake, if that, I think we all have a very good understanding of where there are some questions maybe in the running back room, maybe in the receiving room. You've got a little more latitude this year with your practice squad. You can do some different things there. So anyone that you really want to be able to protect, you can just funnel right onto the practice squad. I think it's going to be a very uneventful. Although, Jaleel McLaughlin, interestingly enough, a couple of years ago, made his name in a exhibition against the San Francisco 49ers. He rushed for like 120 or 30 yards. He was dynamic. And it's like Sean Payton said yesterday, there was no way he was going on a practice squad then because someone would have claimed him immediately. I mean,
exactly.
There's no way that you can sneak that one by people. And so he's been a roster guy ever since. But I am a shared practice guy over exhibitions every day of the week. And I'm so glad that the Broncos have one day against the 49ers and one day the week after against the Cardinals. And that one is in Denver. So that'll be a lot of fun to go and watch. But then that defense gets to go against Kyler Murray, which will be really kind of fun. They did a damn good job last year against Jordan Love and Green Bay. I can tell you that. So I'll be really interested to see what happens with them. Well, I would be remiss at the trade deadline if we didn't just at least hit on our way out what's going on with the Rockies, who, by the way now are back on that kind of 120, 121, 122 losses. I think right now, I did the math last night at some point. I think they're on a pace to lose 120. Of course, the record is 121 set by the White Sox last year for most losses during the modern era of baseball. First of all, 3 guys traded. And I got to tell you, Alex, they were the 3 guys that I would have traded. I would have traded Ryan McMahon. I would have traded Jake Bird and Tyler Kinley. Those are all 3 guys I thought that could bring some value. I haven't done a really deep dive. It looks like the Reggio guy out in New York is like one of their top 10 prospects. I think I saw that yesterday. So that is at least encouraging. He's an infielder. And I guess one of the guys that they got for Ryan McMahon is at least is a guy to pay attention to.
Yep.
What about the take for those 3 guys? And what about the Rockies actually doing something at the trade line? Something that in years past with Gray and Story, they couldn't simply pull the trigger on. All of a sudden now, Bill Schmidt is dealing 3 guys.
Yeah, how about that? Some activity from the Rockies
Yes.
at the deadline. I actually think they did decent here.
Right.
Like you mentioned, Riggio, he's the number 10 prospect in a Yankees farm system that is pretty strong. Like that return for Bird. The Rockies actually got 4 of the Yankees' top 30 prospects in trades. You know, 2 in the trade for Bird, 2 in the trade for Ryan McMahon. The lefty pitcher from LSU they got in the McMahon trade, he looks to be pretty good. He looks like a future big leaguer as well. Yankees fans were not happy about giving up Rock Riggio, so I do like the return for Jake Bird. Don't know much about the guy from Atlanta they got for Tyler Kinley, but the return for McMahon and Bird from the Yankees farm system, I actually do like.
Yeah, I like Riggio a lot. He's an Oklahoma State guy. That's a really good program. That's the Holiday family.
Right.
That's Matt's brother running that program at Oklahoma State. Those are guys that are generally big league ready pretty quickly because they play in such a competitive program with good stuff. Do you think that they set the record? I mean, they're going to be awfully young now, right? I mean, they're and you know what they need to be, Alex, right? At this point, I don't know what winning games. You always try to win games. You aspire to win games. I'm not sure what it really does for this franchise at this particular point. There are going to be I would think there are going to be significant changes coming. We've already seen it with not necessarily ownership, but with running the franchise. I can't imagine that Bill Schmidt will be the general manager of this team after this year. I would be surprised and disappointed. That's nothing personal against Bill. It's just kind of where the franchise needs to be going now. Fresh ideas, hopefully from outside the franchise. But I do think that this is a nice step moving forward. Wins and losses at this point really don't mean much. It's trying to get some momentum moving forward with some pieces that you have some hope for that are on the young side of the equation. I don't know. I'm still a long ways away from feeling really good about the direction that the Rockies are going.
I hear you. Yeah. They are still so far away. Finally, good to see them, though, get some activity going at the deadline, doing the right thing. I'd maybe give them a B- for what they did at the deadline. But, yeah, I think possibly Seth Halverson or Jimmy Herget could have been traded as well, in my opinion. That would have been crazy, though, trading away with the bulkier bullpen.
Not Halverson. I've seen enough from Halverson that I like, that I think he's a piece moving forward. All right, Alex, outstanding job as always. We appreciate you each and every day, and then doing double duty today. Eric will be back on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Be safe, and we'll talk to you on Monday. Later.